Welcome to the Mission First People Always podcast. We're glad you're here. And now our host, Dr. Mike Patterson.
Have you ever wanted to have an intimate conversation with someone who has played in a Rose Bowl and coached in the National Football League with the likes of Marv and Steve Spurrier? And hear what it takes to be successful as a leader with some of the most elite athletes and largest human beings on the planet? If that's you, then you're going to love this episode and my conversation with Dechon Burns. Of course, it's fun to hear the stories about the big games and the big names in football, but the real reason I wanted to have Coach Burns on the show is because I thought that some of the lessons he had learned on the football field were transferable to the conference room, the shop floor, or wherever you need to accomplish your mission. And I was right. Here's the bottom line. You have to take care of your people off the field if you want them to win on the field. In other words, people and performance go hand in hand. But you're going to want to hear this entire conversation for yourself. So sit back and enjoy Coach Dechon Burns.
Welcome to the Mission First People Always podcast, where we talk about better business results, stronger teams, more successful careers, and happier lives. Along the way, we hope to bust some biases, build some bridges, and have some fun. We're glad you're here. And now, our host, Dr. Mike Patterson.
It's Dr. Mike Patterson, your host of the Mission First People Always podcast, where we talk about what it takes to be a great leader and how to build great teams. I'm the author of the book, Mission First People Always, the definitive guide to balancing people and performance. And it's available on Amazon or wherever you buy your books digitally. I'm also a trainer, consultant, and coach focused on leader and team development. Let me remind you, as I always do, please subscribe or follow, leave a review, and tell a friend about our podcast. I do the podcast because I sincerely want to help people lead better and to get more done with and through people. I believe everyone I invite to be a guest on my show can add value to your leadership journey, and I like to showcase talented people who are deeply committed to creating healthy organizations and good leadership like I am. And today is no exception. My guest today is Dechon Burns. Dechon lives football. First as a high school standout, then for the University of Southern California Trojans, where he played in a Rose Bowl, and later as a coach at the high school, college, and professional levels, including stints at the University of Florida, the Washington, at the time, Redskins, where he worked with Marv and Steve Spurrier. As a high school and college coach, he has literally helped hundreds of players advance to Division I college programs and the National Football League. Since 2013, Dechon has been at the helm of Linfield Christian High School's football program, and he invests in the lives of young people day in and day out. I'm excited for you to hear my conversation with Coach Burns after this break.
Imagine a workplace where you feel connected to your work and colleagues, where people joyfully connect to the organization's purpose, mission, and leadership. At Workplace Peace Institute Leadership Academy, we bring evidence-based, brain-based learning to support leaders in creating life-affirming workplaces grounded in peace and dignity. Spark your leadership imagination at Workplace Peace Institute Leadership Academy. Together, let's reimagine work.
Coach Dechon Burns, thanks for being here. Welcome to my studio and welcome to the Mission First People Always podcast. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much, Mike, for having me. It's a pleasure meeting you face to face.
Yeah, indeed. And there's a whole long, fun story about how we connected and got to know one another. Someone from the other side of the country introduced us, and he didn't know that we lived in the same community. So we discovered that on our own. And now we've connected, and we're going to have a great conversation and remain friends. So
Yes,
I'm excited about that.
So we know the same people, Reggie. Also, a lot of guys that you kind of do some business with out this way. We told me about Reggie and
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
So, Dechon, let's begin with Mission First. The name of the podcast is Mission First, People Always.
Yeah.
So, what's the mission? What's job one for any great football coach, any great leader? And just to set the tone here, we're talking to Dechon about many of his experiences as a football coach, as an athlete at the highest level, coaching at the highest levels, and how he transfers these ideas that he's learned and developed through coaching, how we might borrow some of those ideas in the world of leadership and business. So, job one for a great coach.
have an identity.
Have an identity. What does that mean?
Well, you don't want to be a copycat and kind of pull off of other people's ideas. You want to be able to set your own niche, if you will, and just have an identity. So if somebody says that this is a product of Dr. Patterson, it should have a certain ring to it or certain feel to it that you know that's his product. If he's a tough guy, if he's a disciplined guy, if he's an organized person, you can tell the tree by the fruit it produces. So whatever fruit comes off of that should simulate what that tree looks like. So, have an identity.
So is that kind of like your personal brand?
In essence, it is. It is. You play for Coach Burns. There's a couple things that probably should.
Yeah, let's hear
should
what
come
those
along.
are. So I'm an old guy, so I'm not going to be playing for you, but I might have a grandson that will be playing for you.
Mhm.
So my grandson and I come and sit down with you. We're thinking about transferring to your program.
Mhm.
What should we know about playing for Coach Burns?
You need to be accountable. You need to be responsible. You need to be punctual. You have to be tough. You're going to have to be physically, mentally tough. You have to be well conditioned. You need to be disciplined.
Okay.
And those are the pillars of success. Real simple. And it's accountability and it's character stuff first. It has nothing to do with athletic ability. That's secondary. So the character is what pulls you through the game and allows you to do some things that are pretty tough.
Let's dig into that in a moment.
Mhm.
So my grandson joins your team.
Mhm.
It's the beginning of the season.
Mhm.
What are some of the first things you communicate to your players? You just communicated some of those, but it's the, early practice. It's August. It's hot. What is your mindset as a coach? And what do you say to those players that are in front of
We have a mantra, and it's all gas, no brakes. So
you? Okay.
we are wide open from the gate. I believe that tough people come from tough times or tough conditions. So my job is to, put your back to the wall. And then we talk about, I'm a real big movie buff and I like motivational movies and fighting movies and war movies. And so 300, Leonidas, the story of Leonidas, when he goes out in that Arctic open and he's going to fight the wolf. If you can learn, and in summation, if you can learn to put your back against the wall and learn to be comfortable, then when tough times come, you'll find that those are a piece of cake. So I liken this. Day one of the meetings here, we'll hear the story of Leonidas and kind of how we operate, where he's going to fight the wolf. He was going out to become a man. If he would have fought the wolf in the wolf's territory, he wouldn't have had a chance because the wolf was used to being in the snow. He backed himself in the cave, put his back to the wall, and the wolf thought he had an easy meal. And Leonidas had to walk away with the wolf suit and hat, shoes, and everything else, and became the king. So he got comfortable being backed away, back dead. He got comfortable with his back to the wall, and then he began to operate. So our job is to create tough situations and have you work in those situations, and not let obviously you're not going to die or anything of that nature, but you'll find out how you built when tough times come.
So is that how you grew up as an athlete? Did coaches do it that way when you were a player?
Yes. I've been blessed to be around some pretty well-respected men, the guys that mentored me in my life, and I'm still close with pretty much all the coaches that ever coached me, praise the Lord that they're still alive. Some of them I've lost my head coach, my father, but we were just put in tough situations like we'd work. And the accolades didn't come from good job because that's if you're playing ball, you're supposed to tackle if you're on defense. If you're on offense, you're supposed to catch the ball. You don't get a cookie or a brownie point for catching the ball. That's your job. So you do your job to the fullest. If you don't do that, you got to do it better. They'll find something else to do it for you. So we just operated in that space. And then there was a sense of pride about, your work that you put out. And so you didn't want to be the guy that let somebody else down. So you went hard. And then when you look over and you see somebody else called through the same thing that you're going through, there's an intestinal fortitude, if you will, that makes you go on and like, I can't let this guy down. Like he's not bending over. I can't bend over. He's running as fast as he can. I can't take a play off. I have to run just as fast. And the same in the classroom. Academics are just important. If you want a good job, you have to do good grades. If you want to get to school, you have to have good grades. So that was honed in also from my parents, to be the best version of you that you can be. If you're a B student, then be a B student all the time. If you can't crack that A shell, be a B plus, to be the best version of you at all time.
So that not letting your teammate down, how do you get young men in your case to think that way? How do you train that? Because I'm thinking about, is there an application in the workplace? Because teamwork's critically important in the workplace. Collaboration,
Yes.
good communication, and not letting your teammate down is important there too. So how do you teach that?
Well, we create situations where we have big brother, little brothers. So you're accountable to your big brother. The big brother's accountable to the little brother. And I've carried that philosophy since I began coaching. I was at University of Texas El Paso for a few years, and we had a big brother situation. And there was a time where the older guy, supposed to be the big brother, and so the plan of attack was, you and I are brothers. I'm the big brother. You're the little brother. If you do something, let's say you're going to get 40 push-ups, I'm going to get half of that. So we're locked in. They got to a point where the big brother kept getting in trouble, and the little brother was getting half what the big brother was getting. And we had a meeting, and he just like, Coach, can I get a new brother? I don't need him to be my brother. He's supposed to be an example to me, and he's costing me. And so it just.
How'd you address that?
I was like, okay, we actually had a meeting. We was in there. I said, do you hear this? You're supposed to be leading him, and you're constantly getting him in hot water. You're cutting corners, and he's tired of it. How many guys feel like this? Because in the game, we ran a 3-man front, some scheme stuff. You're responsible for a job. You have a job to do. And so when you don't do it, it leaves a hole in our defense. It's putting more pressure on the next guy. And they just got tired of it. So everybody kind of paid the price, because in the game, they're going to back you up for jumping off sides, and everybody else is here. Everybody goes back. So we just started early. And we started early with creating this all-in mentality, and you're responsible for your actions, which in turn affect him, and vice versa. And if he catches something, you're going to catch half of it. And after a while, you'll get tired of it.
So I'm intrigued by, hey, we got in a meeting and we talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was open, how everyone was feeling. Do you do that consistently?
All the time. It's their team. At the end of the day, it's their team. So I've learned that in order for me to be confident in what I'm doing, I have to feel empowered. I have to feel like I have a say. Now, I don't have the ultimate say. I have a coach, or I have a defense coordinator, I have a manager, I have a boss. However, if I can run my lane and I can fill out the whole lane, so I don't take this side and I take that side, the white line's here, I'm right on the edge,
And you own that space.
I own it, and you're running with it. That's all. So that's you. Mess up, you mess up. The only rules I have is don't step on the other side of the line. Don't step on the white line. So if we're all into this, you're going to have a little bit of ownership. You're going to feel like there's a say. It's important for you to feel like you have a say, and you're not a robot. You're not just being dictated to. One of my old mentors and Coach Spurrier and Marv Lewis actually would tell me, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So you pour into them in Christian-based, servanthood. So if you pour into the young man or the young woman where we're coaching and allow them to know that I care about your well-being, and I'm going to put this responsibility on them. You don't have to, for me, you don't have to earn my trust. You get it all. I'm looking at it like you have no reason to lie to me. I just met you. You don't have to earn it, because in this day and age, there's a lot of people that, you got to have to earn her trust, or you have to earn my trust, and now there's friction.
So you begin with, I trust you.
I trust you. Now there's more pressure.
So what I've just learned here is that you demand accountability,
Yes.
but in order to create accountability, you got to give people a sense of ownership.
Yes. Yes.
And it begins with trust.
Begins with trust and honesty. So I don't expect you to lie. I really don't have any expectations, and that's come over the course of just coaching. I don't expect anything from anybody because I can't expect you to be as vested into the sport or coaching like I am, because I really love coaching. I love it. So I do it sun up, sundown, 24/7, 365. You might not be into it like that, but there is a standard. So I don't expect you to match my energy, but there's a standard to be around me or be on our team or to be a part of this organization. There's a standard to be in management. There's a standard to be an offensive coordinator. There's a standard to be a district manager, an area manager. There's a standard.
So let me paint a picture for you and tell me how you respond. And you've coached many high-level athletes. How many players have you had go on to play Division I and even go on to the NFL?
Oh, hundreds.
Hundreds.
Yeah, players. So I began coaching in 94, 95 at Beverly Hills High School, and continued on from Beverly Hills to Bishop Vermont and Florida, UTEP. And I've been up and down the ranks there. So between guys going off to play college ball, and then those being fortunate enough to play in the NFL, it's probably close to the neighborhood of 100.
So you can smell talent, you can spot it, you can see it. How do you push a high-level player who might not be living up to his potential or her potential if you're coaching women? They've got the goods,
Right.
they've got the talent, but maybe you need to raise the bar a little bit for them and challenge them, because we see that in the workplace as well. They're talented people. They're just gifted. They're a natural salesperson, but they can be more. They can be better. How do you encourage that really good player, great player to be even better?
We have honest conversations. So I look past the product. I think that society is built up, for check boxes. As long as you check the box, you're doing your job. Check the box, you meet the quota, you're doing your job. But above and beyond, those guys are the ones that are great. And so I've been blessed to, there was a gentleman that we had at the Redskins. He was about 6'8", 370 pounds, could run like the wind, fall first round draft pick. He was pretty good. So his 80% was probably better than a lot of people's 100%. And so we'd have some serious conversations like, I see through that and that you're not really working.
Okay.
You're not working like you could. Like you ran fast enough to be on the front, but you didn't run your fastest. You pushed the guy and you had it here, but you could have came off and made the play there. So you kind of took a play off.
So how did this player who was 6'8" and how much?
370, 80 pounds.
A giant.
A giant, yes.
How did this human giant respond to that feedback?
Well, at first he looked at me and I said, we went away from sports. I said, the bottom line is you're not used to hearing no. Because in life, especially in sports, as soon as you begin to excel, people allow certain things to slide in the character, right? If you don't go as fast as you can, but you're beating the guy in front of you, it's what more do you want me to do? Well, I did my job. Well, you really didn't do it the way you're supposed to. So we had a really big heart-to-heart conversation one day. It was in mini camp. We had just signed him. And I said, you're not used to hearing no. I said, first of all, it's not about your size. I'm not intimidated that you're a big fella. It's okay. We're both grown men. But you could do this a long time. I think he was early 30s. The league is set up that if you can maintain a certain longevity, retirement is pretty good for you. I said, so I'd imagine you want to get to retirement. And by the looks of things, you could make it. However, my boss at the time was Marvin Lewis, who was a stickler for details and rules. He wasn't letting certain things slide. So if he's not going to let them slide, and I can report to him, I can't let it slide. And if you have an issue with that, then take that with Marvin. But I'm just going to report back what you're doing or what you're not doing. And you're not giving me your best all the time. If you're tired, get in shape. If you can make the play, make the play. And it was more like, wow, nobody's really ever held me to the carpet about that. And we ended up being really, really good friends. I was a godfather to one of his children.
Oh my goodness.
We still remain in contact. And during halfway through the season, we went to lunch one day. We're in Tyson's Corner, which is a very, very upscale area of Virginia. And we went to this restaurant, and the line was out the door. And I was like, hey, it's going to be a little while, man. He said, no, we'll just go right in. So we go up to the front door and greet him, and we walks in, and he's like the biggest man in Virginia. He's huge. So I already know who he is. The restaurant is packed. Everybody's at the table, and there's a table that's reserved for him, and his jersey's above the table. There's a placard on there that said reserved for so-and-so. And I looked at him, I began to laugh. And I said, you made the call, didn't you? To make sure the table was like, no. Like the table, nobody ever sits at the table. And we were going to eat, and we sat down, and he had a dish on the menu that was specialized for him. It was on the menu. And they were like, hey, coach, what would you like? And if you like something on me, it's pretty good, we can package that and make it, call it the Coach Burns special or whatever. I said, I'm fine. I'll just take X, Y, and Z. And I looked at him, I said, this is not realistic. Like this isn't really how it works. I said, this is all based on production right now. So should you have a bad game or should your name fall out of favor, it's not real. But just allow me to know. And he looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language to him. I said, I can tell that life has treated you a certain way based on 6'8", 370. You can run like the wind, you're gargantuan, you do this and do that. I said, but there's going to be a time where you're going to slow down or you're not going to be as effective. And then people are going to look at you differently. And how will you acclimate to that, when the cleats come off? So we'd have real discussions just about, it's more than the cleats. It's more than Sunday and the name on the back of the jersey. You'll come from behind the helmet and nobody will know the face behind the face mask. So you can do that longer than you're being in uniform.
It's about being a good human being.
God being a good character. And, I know God's important for me and mine. And so being a servant.
So you mentioned the expression, people don't care what you know until they know how much you care.
Yes.
Caring for your players, being a servant leader is important to you. The podcast is called Mission First, People Always.
Mm-hmm.
How did you really take care of your players? And, some of them were superstars making multi-million-dollar contracts per year,
Mm-hmm.
salaries per year, and you've worked with people from all levels. So
Yes.
how do you take care of people as their coach, as their leader?
Well, you talk to them about what the intentions are. So it's for their benefit. We had a young man or an older man. He was actually 10 years older than I was, and I had to coach him. And
It's just in the pros.
this is in the pros. And he's a Hall of Famer. And he's a Pro Bowler, and he has a sack record now. And so we were at mini camp, and I'd just been hired. I think I was 32 at the time. So I was a young guy, and I was young on the staff, second youngest on the staff. And I just came from college. And I think a year before that, I was coaching high school. So it was like bang, bang, bang when I got there. And it was before camp, it was before practice, and we're just talking. And he asked me the infamous question, how old are you? I knew it was coming. And I said, look, man, I'm 32. And his response was, I've forgotten more football than you know. And I said, you're right. I said, you're right. You've been around a long time. And I said, I'll give you one up, or I'll give you one better. When you played in the Super Bowl, you practiced at USC. I said, I was in school then. I was playing. Your teammate was a good friend of mine. It was like my big brother. So had I been in the position, and I played this position in college, I would have been watching you. However, I went and watched my big brother, and I was watching him practice. I knew who you were, but I was watching him practice. And you guys are pretty tight. But yeah, I said, so I get exactly where you're at. However, you won't do this forever, and the cleats will come off. And I know if there's a certain number of sacks that you need, there was a nice bonus sitting ahead of him. She hit the sack number, and I said, I recognize that. I recognize exactly what it is you're trying to get done, and I'm here to help you. So I want to see you do it, and I don't need a stake. I don't need anything. I'll take the all juice. I'll take the fat out of the steak, but I want you to have the steak. So when I'm going to work every morning, I'm getting up and you got kind of personal. Work starts for you at about 8:30, 9 o'clock. It will end at about 2:30, 3 o'clock. And then you will leave and you'll go do your business deals and go to the car dealership, and you have a string of hotels you're working on, and you'll go do that. I will just be starting the football side, and I'll get home about 11, 12. And then I'll come in and I'll kiss my kids on the forehead and my family, and they'll be asleep. And then I'll wake up in the morning and they'll be asleep, and I'll kiss them on the head goodbye, and then I'll go to work, and I have to be at work at 5:36. So I'm there from 6 to 12 so that you can get this bonus at a certain time. So I invested in making sure you get it because I know how bad you want to get it. So all I need from you is one of the meetings, and no, I'm going to pull on you. I'm going to pull on your experience because you have it. I remember watching you played against, you've sacked everybody in the business, and you played against every tackler there possibly is. You know, you've outplayed some guys that retired at Hall of Famers. So I'm going to pull on you sometime. And I just need a little bit of expertise, give a little bit to these young guys that are coming in. Because if you get really close to the number, I know that you won't come in on certain downs because it's not geared to trying to get past. So I get it. I understand. I know what we're getting at, but my job is to help you get there. So we had that discussion, and we were close to this day. We had a golf tournament when I first got hired, and he came out and premiered the golf tournament. So we talk all the time, but it's just having a little conversation. Like, there's no ulterior motive. I get it, but here's what I have to do. I'm the boss right now. You're the worker, and I got to manage. You got to follow, and this is what I need from you, and you're going to get everything from me. So it's bad business if I'm giving 100 and you want maximum effort or maximum production from me and minimal effort by you. That's bad business. So 32, 42, 52, it doesn't matter.
But you aligned with, you stated your support for his success. You aligned with his goals and vision and mission. So you guys became partners in success in that regard. Well, let's talk about, and I'm dying to hear names, and I'm not going to push you on names. But whenever you're ready to drop some names, I'm good with that. So let's talk about losses and setbacks in sports at every level. We lose sometimes.
Yes.
We don't always win. In business, we sometimes lose.
Yes.
And we face challenges. And how do you help players respond well, build resilience, bounce back, stand up in the face of hard adversity? How do you develop that grit in your players?
Oh, great question. I just pull on some of my personal experiences. I was playing ball in college and was on my way to starting and being a market.
And you played at USC.
I did play at USC under Larry Smith, and we went to a few bowl games, about 4 bowl games in 5 years. And
you played in the Rose Bowl.
Played in 2 Rose Bowls against Michigan.
So that's some street cred right there.
Street cred. Played against Michigan and Coach Tim Beckler in 89, and we lost, and we doubled back and played him again in 90 and won. Played against Kirk Herbstreit when he was at Ohio State. Jeff George was at Illinois. Troy Aikman was at UCLA. My teammates were...
Now you're dropping names.
Well, they were pretty talented. Pac-10, this back when it was a Pac, they were talented guys. My teammates were Rodney P., Todd Marinovich, and Junior Seau, and Mark here. We had a lot of guys. I think my freshman year, there were 14 seniors and 11. 10 or 11 got drafted, and the other 3 had free agent contracts. Then the following year was 11 and 9 or 8.
And that's the track you wanted to be on.
Oh, definitely. You go to SC, you're playing. Well, take that back. And this didn't want to be a pediatrician. I chose USC for the med school, one of the best med schools in the country. I had a chance to go some other places, but I want to be a doctor with an SC degree. Quickly we got to take stats and recognize that might have been the road I need to take, and got a degree in communication. So I started out wanting to be a doctor and really never thought about the pros, but we get to play. And then when you start playing with guys and you're looking at them, and I'll sidetrack for 15 seconds. We're playing in the Rose Bowl in 89, and a buddy of mine, Stephon Pace, out there, coach at Topwitz, we're in the back. We're kind of sitting on the bus, and We're riding to the Rose Bowl. And we're looking around at, it's Rodney Pete, so on, so on, so on.
And did you know these guys?
Oh, yeah, we're tight. I mean, the Trojan fan, we're tight.
But did you know these guys were going to be stars in the NFL?
Yeah, yes. Well, this was the road. So Rodney had a first-round grade on him and some other guys. And so I remember nudging my boy and saying, yeah, tonight at 9:30, 10 o'clock, I got the first round. You know, like he's going to show, he's in the show, he's in the show. And the guy who played in front of me, Ernie Spears, he went 4th round to the Saints. And so I'm like, all right, go, this guy's going to go. Oh, like it's kind of the standard. And so I was on my way to playing, and I had a neck injury. I had a break in my neck. So I had a herniated disc at the 2-3 level, and then a 6-7. It was temporarily paralyzed for about 5 or 6 seconds on the right side, and then went through a barrage of tests, and the Rams doctor, the Steelers doctor, tried to get back. And this is during the time of Hank Gathers. When Hank Gathers had passed away and Bo Kimball was there, I wanted to sign a waiver so I could play, and the school was like, no, you can't.
Big setback. Huge setback.
So I went to the baseball coach, went to Coach Gillespie, and talked to the ADs at the time and asked if I could play baseball, because I played baseball in high school. So I walked onto the baseball team because I wasn't ready to hang them up, nor did I want to do like the office. You know, you get hurt, there's stuff you got to do, some political stuff that you have to do, and I didn't want to do the office work and go get copies, get donuts. And, you know, I was a player. I lived in a house with 6 other guys, and they're all playing, and they have draft grades, and they're going to have a shot. So I'm 19 at the time. So I'm going through that psychologically.
Is this sophomore year?
Redshirted in my redshirt first year. I played, and then going into my redshirt sophomore year. Yes. So now I'm playing to be a starter. Myself, another guy, Mulholland Question, going to the Packers, and the Skins have played in the Super Bowl. My good friend Stefano to the Bears. I mean, so guys, and we're all living in the same house, and so I got to come home every day and see them and acclimate in with 19. And so I asked to play baseball, and I went to the baseball team and did fall ball, and made the baseball team. Was battling for a starting position at center field. Brett Bull or Aaron Bull, so Boney, the old skipper for the Yankees. Our team is pretty talented as well. And then I found out that I couldn't play baseball because of the eligibility thing. So baseball didn't have to scholarship me. They didn't have any more scholarships because they'd given all theirs out. This was fall ball. Football, I would not be able to use the eligibility part because then it would take up a spot.
Complicated.
Very, very complicated. So it was that moment, Coach Gillespie pulled me aside and said, I don't know what's going on, or what's happening and why you'd be able to do this. And then they said, no, but you can't do it anymore. And he said, but the Dodgers came out and the Astros came out and they asked about you. So you can go to Merced. And so I went to the Astros organization, or worked out for George Amici, who was a skipper at the time. And went up there and had a chance to be in an Astros organization, but I just didn't get the rules of baseball, like how it works, majors and minors and 100 games, and you can be there all life. Football, either go in or you're not. So I let my agent go and came on, back. I tried out, then finished school up. In that moment, it was a make or break, right? And so I said, okay, what I will do is I'll become a student coach, like a player coach. So I gravitated to Coach Zampese and Coach Bobby and Coach Smith, and they allowed me to get on the staff there. And I began to coach guys up. And I just remember that moment and saying, okay, I cannot let this setback define me. I got to find what my worth is. And it wasn't in playing ball. It wasn't in tackling.
What was it in?
It was in who I was, like who I've been created to be. And that is a go-getter, right? I can do this. I can make things happen. And that your identity is not on your production on Saturdays or your name or what you're on the TV. It was more about who are you when your back's against the wall? Who are you when things aren't well? Are you going to cry? Are you going to pout? Are you going to be the victim? Or can you find a way? And if there's a will, there's a way. And mind over matter. So if you don't mind, it doesn't matter.
So when that door of being an athlete was closed, you pivoted and found what you could do that would bring meaning and purpose to your life.
And I did, yes. And I didn't know. I just know I want to stay involved with sport. I didn't think about coaching per se, but I wanted to stay involved with sport. And then I think what happened during my time made me open my eyes and say, okay, I'm going to tell the truth to these student athletes. I want to be in a position to tell them how this really works, like how it really goes. What happens when you get hurt? What happens if you're not good enough, you never get on the field? Because I had teammates and friends that were highly recruited, and then they never got to the football field. They never made it on the field. And they were really good. And they were all state, all American, this and that, top 100. But
when you get to that certain level, you're no longer the best player.
No, you're not. And then how do you deal with it? And so you have those little mini challenges. And if you play for me, you know, I told my team about this. It was my true freshman year. And they used to do something called summer bridge. So they bring in the freshmen all come in, they compete against each other, and they bring the vets in. So the first 3 days, a couple of us were really having great camps, and we're dominating it. You know, doing what we did in high school. Great. And then they brought the old guys in, the older guys in. So on our team, there was a guy by the name of Ed Galfronter, who was a leading receiver in the pack. And then John Jackson was right behind him, breaking his record. So we had some guys. So I remember in practice lining up against Affy, and called him, and he beat me bad. And it wasn't even down the field. He beat me like in a short area. And he caught the ball, he turned around and pushed the ball in my face. That never happened to me. And so it was the whole practice. I was just getting wore out. And then I was told, hey, you can't, I'm not going to go against you. And I couldn't go to, so they put me on, they had some other guys sitting there, like, hey, you come here, you get on in. And I was, at the time, it's kind of like, whoa, when that happened, you know, you get embarrassed. So I had made up in my mind that I was going to have a good cry. I was going to go to my dorm room, cry, call my head coach, call my dad, look at my old high school tape and figure out what the problem was. And practice was over. I didn't shower. I jumped on my bike and went straight to the dorm. And I opened the door. My roommate had beat me in there, and he was having a crying shout. And he was the only one we had recruited from this area of the country. And the guy who played in front of him was Junior Seau. And so we began to share stories. And then it was
Junior's a pretty good player.
he was kind of good. Okay, he was kind of good. And so I'm sitting here at the door, at the key of the door, and my eyes are welled up, and I just need the door to open. I want to be sweet to see me cry. I went in my room. I'm going to put my face in the pillow and cry on a ball. And I open the door and I'm crying, but he can't see me. Then wait, what's going on? What's the problem? Nothing. I don't know if I can play here. And I'm on the other side, like, you know, I'm not going for it.
Not alone.
So I wipe my eyes. Also, I got tough guy. It's going to be okay. But I'm sitting on the other side, like, you know, he was having a struggle. A couple of my buddies that lived the floor above me, I went to see them. They were having a struggle. Guys 4 floors up, they were having a struggle.
So community's important.
Oh, extremely. And we're all going through the same thing. And they're all pretty good players. Guys at the show and being in the NFL. And I said, okay, I'm in good company. These guys are pretty good and they're struggling. I'm in good company. And then I made one play. And then the day after I made 2 or 3 plays. And by the weekend, I made enough plays to start guarding the red shirt. You know, I was offering these guys that I was guarding a red shirt. And maybe 2 weeks in, now I'm guarding the guys that are the record breakers. And it was just a matter of just bearing down and looking at it, say, okay, you can't do it. You just got to fine tune some things. Some guys didn't make that transition. You know, they were stuck with that point of what happened in adversity. And then you fast forward now to our culture, especially in the sports world. Any challenge, guys are transferring or entering the portal, or they don't want to work in the work environment because it's a little too tough. And the boss wants me to turn the report in at 8 o'clock, like on the dot. I can't turn it in at 8:05, or, you know, I have to turn in my mileage report like at the end of the month and not 2 days later.
Right. So, DeChon, our time is drawing short here. So I've got a few more questions, and I really want to hear your responses to these. What do great coaches do? And we can transfer this idea into the leadership world. What do great coaches do that average coaches don't?
Care.
Okay.
And they find out who they have on their staff. So they begin to find out who they are. When I worked for Coach Spurrier, My interview with him had nothing to do with football. It was about character. His mantra was faith, family, and football. And I talked football with the defensive coordinator. I didn't talk one down, one X, one O with Coach Spurrier. It's about character, about what type of person I was to my family, what type of leader I was, what type of time I was raised, what type of husband I was, what type of father I was, what type of brother I was. I was a sibling, I was oldest. How close was my parents that I talked to him about it. Those things mattered to him. And the guys that I worked with, later on, kind of the interviews were the same. It was about your character, who you were. And so when you found out that they cared more about you as a person and not just, I need this guy to sack this guy, they were vested into you. They feel obligated in essence to pour back into them. So they are committed. Yes.
Let's fast forward 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
We're at your retirement party.
Okay.
It's a big gala event. Hundreds of people in this big ballroom have gathered to celebrate your career.
Uh-huh.
They start chanting, speech, speech, speech. Coach, speak to us. You go to the podium, you grab the microphone. What do you say to this group of people that have gathered to celebrate your career? What do you want your legacy to be?
That was hard, that was fair, and that I was appreciative of them trusting in me and being willing to listen to what I had to say. And then I always say all the time, trust the process. And they trusted in the process, allowed me part of the process. And my father was would always tell me, as a man, all you have is your word and your name. So I just want to keep your word and protect your name. Period, point blank, and never quit. Never quit. Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. So, I mean, that would be it.
That's your career. That's your legacy.
That's my career. That's my legacy.
So I always end the podcast. Every show ends with this question. Can you give our listeners one idea, one tip, one thing that they can begin doing right away that will make them a better leader or a better teammate?
Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Be honest. Not comfortable, but be honest. Be strong enough and brave enough to be authentic and open with your teammate, your coworker, and tell them where they stand with, and have that open discussion and be inviting to have it. But at the raw base of it, it's about being honest. If I'm honest with you and then you understand where I'm coming from, it's now on you how you take it. But you'll know that when you come to DeChon or I come to Mike, he's going to give it to me straight and I can shoot it back straight. And that is where the bonds connect. That's where the trust is built.
DeChon Burns, Coach DeChon Burns, thank you for being a great guest on the Mission First People Always podcast. We are neighbors.
Yes, we
So
are.
I hope this isn't your last appearance on the podcast.
No, sir.
You are welcome back anytime.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to come watch some games this fall.
Yes. Yeah, a couple of sideline.
and-
On the sideline.
And
On the sideline.
that would be fun. It's been great. Hope to see you again.
Dr. Patterson.
God bless.
Appreciate you. God bless. Thank you.
I really enjoyed this conversation, especially the reminder that we need to be honest with people, even if they're making millions of dollars a year, to call out the best in them. And there's a difference between someone who is naturally talented and performs far better than most and putting in the extra effort to be the very best they can be. My conversation with Coach Burns today reminded me of something another great coach, John Wooden, said. Success comes from knowing that you did your best to become the best that you are capable of becoming. I think those are words to live by. Friends, I want you to be successful, to be all you can be. I hope this podcast is giving you some ideas and inspiration that will help you get there.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to create a stronger, more people-centric and empowered culture for your organization, visit drmikepatterson.com.